When someone walks away from you, it feels like the world stops. It feels like the air gets heavy. It feels like your worth is being questioned, and your heart starts to ask what it did wrong. But let me tell you something. When someone leaves, it's not the end, it's the beginning of your power, because the moment they walk away, you get the opportunity to meet the version of yourself you forgot existed, the version that doesn't need to chase, doesn't need to beg, doesn't need to prove, the version that knows that whoever walks away was never meant to stay until you discovered your worth. You see, when someone walks out, the first instinct is to go after them, to explain, to fix, to make them understand. But the truth is, the moment you chase, you tell them that their presence means more than your peace. You tell them their love defines your value, and that's where you lose your power. Because real power is not in holding on, it's in letting go. Real strength is not in trying to convince someone to love you. It's in realizing you're already enough even when they don't. If they walked away, let them. If they turned their back, let them. If they stopped calling, don't chase, because people who truly care don't disappear when things get tough. They don't leave when it's inconvenient. They don't make you question your worth just to feel theirs. And if they left, it's because the story you were writing together was meant to end there, so a new chapter could begin, one that's not about proving your value to someone else, but about remembering it for yourself. Here's the truth nobody tells you. People always come back when they realize your absence is heavier than your presence ever was. They come back when they see you glowing without them, when they see you walking taller, smiling wider, living freer, because nothing attracts someone more than your peace, your power, your growth. But here's the catch. When they do come back, you won't need them anymore, because the person you've become in their absence will have already filled the space they left behind. The biggest mistake you can make is waiting for someone to come back instead of working on yourself while they're gone. Because if you sit in pain, if you replay what happened, if you beg life to rewind, you get stuck in a place where healing can't find you. But if you stand up, if you say, all right, they left, but I'm still here, that's where your transformation begins. Because your pain isn't punishment, it's preparation. And when you use it right, it turns you into a person you never knew you could be. You have to understand something powerful. When you stop chasing what left, what's meant for you starts finding you, because chasing blocks blessings. It tells the universe you don't believe something better exists. But the moment you release what isn't yours, you create space for what is. And that's when peace enters. That's when confidence returns. That's when love starts coming from places you never expected. They will come back the moment you stop waiting, the moment you stop trying to make them see what they didn't value, because nothing drives a person more insane than seeing you move on like they never existed. Nothing makes them rethink their choices faster than seeing you glow from a peace they tried to destroy. But this time, when they do come back, it won't be to complete you. It'll be to witness the person you became without them. You see, most people leave thinking they'll find better, and sometimes they do. But what they find doesn't have your loyalty, your kindness, your presence, your love, your fire. And it's only a matter of time before they start comparing, before they start realizing that what they left wasn't the problem. It was their own lack of awareness. And by the time they realize it, you'll already have outgrown them. You'll already be too focused, too healed, too elevated to look back. If you want them to come back, don't try to change their mind. Change your energy, because people don't respond to words. They respond to vibration. And when your energy says, I'm fine without you, I've healed, I've leveled up, that's when they start feeling your absence differently. Because people can forget your voice, but they can never forget your energy. And when your energy grows calm, confident, and complete, they'll feel it even if they're miles away. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop clinging. It means you stop allowing what hurt you to hold you hostage. It means you stop giving someone else the power to decide how you feel. And that's when life starts shifting, because the energy you were pouring into chasing now starts pouring into creating, building, improving, healing. And when you do that, you become unstoppable. Don't get it twisted. People always feel when you detach. They may not admit it, but they notice when you stop texting first. They notice when your tone changes. They notice when you no longer care what they think. And that's when curiosity hits. That's when regret starts whispering, because they thought you'd always be there, but they were wrong. And that realization stings more than any goodbye. When they left, they thought they took your happiness with them. But what they didn't know is that your happiness wasn't something they could carry, because it was always yours. It was just buried beneath your need to be loved, your fear of being alone, your habit of giving too much. But now you see it. Now you know that the peace you were searching for in them was hiding in you all along. And once you tap into that, once you start loving yourself again, there's no heartbreak that can break you twice. They'll come back when you've stopped talking about them, when your silence speaks louder than your sadness, when your peace starts posting louder than your pain. Because silence is powerful. It shows you've moved on, and nothing scares people more than realizing they no longer have access to the version of you they once took for granted. You have to stop thinking closure comes from their apology, because it doesn't. Closure comes from your decision to stop needing one. It comes from realizing that their actions were their lesson, not your fault. And the moment you accept that, you take back your power, because forgiveness isn't about letting them off the hook. It's about freeing yourself from the chain that keeps you waiting, wondering, hoping, and instead letting peace take over where pain used to live. Every time you cry for someone who left, remember this: it's not a loss, it's a redirection, because sometimes rejection is protection. Sometimes their exit is your elevation. Sometimes their absence is the gift you didn't know you needed, because their leaving pushed you into becoming the person you were always meant to be, the person who doesn't chase love, but attracts it effortlessly by being whole. Don't try to show them what they missed by pretending. Show them what they lost by evolving. Show them that your glow didn't fade when they left. It got brighter. Show them that your worth didn't shrink when they disappeared. It expanded. Show them that you don't need them to validate your value, because your existence alone is proof of your power. And once you reach that level of self-love, they'll look back and realize they walked away from a blessing. The reason they come back isn't because you begged, it's because you bloomed, because while they were busy chasing distractions, you were busy working on yourself, healing your wounds, protecting your peace, learning your worth. And the universe always rewards people who choose growth over chasing, because what's meant for you will never require you to lose yourself to keep it. One day they'll see you laughing again. They'll see you happy again. They'll see you shining in ways you never did before. And it will hit them, not because you're trying to make them jealous, but because they'll finally see what they couldn't appreciate when they had it. And that realization will burn quietly in their soul, because regret always comes when they realize your love was rare, your energy was gold, and your presence was peace. But here's the truth. By the time they figure it out, you'll be gone, not bitter, not broken, just better. Because heartbreak is not the end of your story. It's the start of your transformation. And when you rise from it, when you heal from it, when you turn your pain into purpose, that's when life starts to shift in your favor. Because strength born from heartbreak is strength that never fades. You don't have to prove anything to anyone who left. You don't have to show them what they lost. You just have to live, love yourself, grow in silence, and let your peace be the loudest thing about you. Because people always come back to peace. They always come back to what made them feel safe. And when you become that peace for yourself, you'll realize you never needed them to begin with. So stop waiting for them to return. Start returning to yourself. Stop replaying what happened. Start rewriting your future. Stop chasing closure. Start creating clarity. Because the moment you shift from waiting to working, from hurting to healing, that's the moment your glow returns. That's the moment your energy rises. And that's the moment they feel your absence like never before, because nothing haunts someone more than losing someone who finally found peace without them. There comes a moment when you look at yourself in the mirror and realize that the version of you who once begged for attention, who once waited for texts, who once cried over silence, has vanished. And standing there now is someone wiser, calmer, and stronger, someone who doesn't chase anymore, because they've learned that love should never have to be begged for. It should flow freely. It should feel like peace, not pressure. And once you taste that realization, there's no going back to the old you who settled for less just to feel seen. Every person who leaves teaches you something. Some teach you how to love deeper. Others teach you how to let go quicker. But all of them teach you one thing for sure. Your worth isn't tied to their presence. And the minute you stop letting temporary people affect your permanent peace, that's the minute you step into your power. Sometimes love doesn't end because it's wrong. It ends because you've outgrown the version of yourself that accepted things you shouldn't have. It ends because your soul demanded more. And the pain you feel now is the price of your evolution, because no transformation happens in comfort. And heartbreak is just the universe shaking you awake, reminding you that you were never meant to stay small for someone who couldn't see your greatness. They thought you would break without them. They thought your world would stop spinning. They thought you'd come crawling back the moment they turned away. But instead you rose, you kept going, you learned to smile again. And that's what hurts them the most, because people don't regret leaving when you fall apart. They regret leaving when you start shining without them. When they realize that your silence built an empire inside you that no amount of noise from them can ever shake. You must remember that what's meant for you doesn't run away. It aligns, it flows, it stays through the storms, it grows with you. And if someone had to leave, it means their energy was no longer a match for your growth. And that's not rejection, that's redirection, because sometimes the universe removes people not to punish you, but to protect you, because you were praying for peace while holding on to what caused your chaos. When someone walks out of your life, don't try to replace them immediately. Sit with yourself. Learn from the silence, understand your emotions, heal your triggers. Because healing doesn't mean you forget what happened. It means you stop letting it control how you move forward. And the more you pour that love back into yourself, the faster your glow returns, because self-love isn't selfish, it's survival. They will remember you not because you begged them to stay, but because you showed them what grace looks like when you let go, because you didn't curse their name, you just blessed your path. And nothing is more haunting than a person who left you thinking you'd chase, but instead watched you bloom without them. You see, love isn't about possession. It's about presence. It's not about who stays out of convenience. It's about who chooses to stay when it's hard. And if someone couldn't handle your heart, that's not your failure. That's their limitation. And when you accept that, you stop taking their departure personally, because you realize that not everyone is capable of loving at your depth. Every heartbreak builds a different version of you, one that's more aware, one that's more patient, one that sees red flags faster, one that values peace more than attention, one that knows now that love without respect isn't love at all. And when you finally learn that, you start walking differently, talking differently, living differently, because the pain that once broke you is now the power that guides you. They will come back when you've already moved on, when your laughter sounds lighter, when your confidence walks louder, when your energy becomes unbothered, because peace is magnetic. And when they see you living freely, they'll realize they lost something priceless. A person who loved them when they didn't love themselves, and they'll wish they had valued you when they had the chance. You must understand this truth. Not everyone who comes back deserves another chance, because sometimes they don't return out of love. They return out of curiosity, out of guilt, out of loneliness, out of regret. But you are no longer the same person who would open the door easily, because your peace now costs more. Your standards have risen, and your soul refuses to settle for half love again. You don't have to hate them. You don't have to get revenge. Your healing is your revenge. Your happiness is your closure. Your silence is your response, because peace always wins louder than words ever could. And the most beautiful form of strength is smiling without needing anyone's validation, because once you master the art of being content alone, nobody can ever use loneliness to manipulate you again. The person who left you may have thought they were moving on to something better, but what they'll discover is that love doesn't feel right when it's not pure, when it's not honest, when it's not loyal, and soon they'll start missing the way your energy felt, because genuine souls are rare. And once you lose one, the universe doesn't send another easily. Don't wait for karma to do its job. Let time do it, because time has a way of humbling the ungrateful, revealing the truth, and rewarding those who stayed kind even when they were hurt, because every tear you cried is watering the seeds of your next chapter. And when it blooms, the same people who doubted you will watch in silence as you rise higher than they ever expected. Stop overthinking why they left. Stop replaying what you could have done differently, because if you were real, if you were honest, if you gave love without holding back, then you did your part. And that's enough, because their decision to walk away says more about them than it ever will about you. And one day you'll look back and thank them, not because it didn't hurt, but because it pushed you into becoming the version of yourself you were always meant to meet. Don't let the pain make you hard. Let it make you wise. Don't let it close your heart. Let it open your eyes, because love isn't the enemy. Expectation is. And when you learn to love without losing yourself, that's when you become unstoppable. That's when no heartbreak can destroy you again, because you no longer depend on others to complete you. You've already completed yourself. When you stop caring about who left, the universe starts sending people who will stay. When you stop begging for love, love starts finding you naturally. When you stop trying to control outcomes, peace starts controlling your energy, and that's when life feels lighter, because now you're flowing, not forcing, trusting, not chasing, healing, not hurting. If they come back, let them face the new you, the healed you, the unbothered you, the one who doesn't settle for almost, who doesn't accept inconsistency, who doesn't tolerate half effort. Because once you've tasted peace, chaos loses its flavor. And once you've healed, drama no longer entertains you, because your soul has outgrown the noise. It's funny how people always realize your worth the moment you stop proving it, how they suddenly remember your value the moment you stop reminding them, how they start missing your energy when it's no longer available. But that's life. Sometimes you have to lose people to find yourself, and when you do, you never trade your peace again for their presence. So don't chase anyone who left. Don't wait for texts that never come. Don't beg for explanations that don't heal. Instead, invest that energy into your dreams, your goals, your growth, your purpose, because the best glow up isn't proving them wrong. It's proving to yourself that you never needed them to become who you were destined to be. They will come back the day they see you living the life they once thought you couldn't handle without them. They will watch you shine in silence, and it will hurt. Not because they hate you, but because deep down they'll know they lost something rare, and you won't even need to say a word because your success will say everything. So stop crying for someone who made peace with your pain. Stop waiting for someone who stopped caring when it was convenient for them. Stop doubting your worth because someone else couldn't see it. Because real love doesn't leave. It stays, it fights, it grows. And the right one will never make you question your value. They'll remind you of it every single day. You are not hard to love. You just love the wrong person too deeply. You are not too emotional. You were just trying to connect with someone who wasn't ready to feel. You are not broken. You are healing, and one day the love you gave so freely will come back to you multiplied, and it will make you realize why nothing else ever worked out before. Because everything that left was just clearing space for what's truly meant to stay. When you finally master the art of walking away with peace, of not needing closure, of not reacting, of not chasing, you step into a power that shakes the ground beneath people who thought they could play with your emotions. Because indifference is louder than anger, and peace is stronger than any apology. The moment you stop caring whether they come back or not is the moment they start trying to, because they'll sense the shift. They'll feel that you no longer need them, and nothing pulls people more than the energy of someone who's moved on completely, because peace has a frequency, and once you vibrate on it, only those meant for you can find you. So keep healing, keep building, keep becoming, because your glow up is not just about success, it's about peace, it's about self-respect, it's about waking up one day and realizing you no longer cry over who left. You smile over who you've become, and that's the most beautiful comeback of all. There comes a moment when you get tired of running after things that were never meant to be caught, tired of begging for attention that should have been given freely, tired of proving your worth to people who were blind to see it, tired of chasing situations that only left you breathless with disappointment, and in that exhaustion, something inside you shifts. You stop running, you stop pleading, you stop forcing, and that single pause becomes the most powerful decision of your life, because the second you stop chasing, the energy that once ran away from you starts turning back toward you, drawn by the calm confidence of a person who finally knows their value. You start realizing that chasing never gave you peace. It only gave you temporary validation, and when that faded, you felt emptier than before because you were building your worth on someone else's attention instead of your own self-belief. And when you finally see that truth clearly, you begin to understand that attraction is not about speed. It's about alignment. It's about standing still in your purpose until the right things recognize your frequency and come your way naturally, because what is meant for you doesn't run. It resonates. It finds its way home through the noise. You notice how quiet power feels different. It doesn't beg. It doesn't chase. It simply is. And when you become grounded like that, you start radiating a calm that pulls opportunities, relationships, peace, and progress toward you, because calm is magnetic, focus is magnetic, and confidence without noise is the loudest thing in any room. You begin to learn that chasing comes from fear, the fear of missing out, the fear of being alone, the fear of not being enough. And as long as fear drives your movement, you'll keep running in circles. But when you stop and trust that what belongs to you can never pass you by, fear loses its hold and faith takes its place. And faith doesn't chase, faith expects, faith knows, faith waits with peace. When you stop chasing people, something sacred happens inside you. You start chasing purpose instead. You stop worrying about who's choosing you and start focusing on choosing yourself. And once you do that, the universe rearranges everything to match that decision, because energy always meets energy. And the moment your energy says, I am whole, I am ready, I am enough, everything that couldn't find you before suddenly starts appearing at your doorstep. You become selective with your time, protective with your peace, intentional with your words. And the more you do that, the lighter you feel, because you're no longer running toward validation. You're walking in self-respect. And that walk has a rhythm that attracts the right kind of attention, not desperate eyes that see your shine for a moment, but genuine souls that recognize your depth for a lifetime. People sense when you stop needing them. They feel when your energy detaches, when your joy no longer depends on their response, when your mood no longer shifts with their silence. And that shift confuses them, because control no longer works, manipulation no longer works, distance no longer works, because you've built peace on something deeper, self-love. And self-love changes everything. It teaches you that absence isn't a threat when your presence is enough. You'll notice doors that once stayed shut begin to open when you stop knocking, not because they suddenly became easier, but because you finally learned to walk toward the doors meant for you. And that is the beauty of alignment. It saves you from wasted effort. It saves you from begging for what was never yours. It saves you from mistaking movement for progress. When you stop chasing love, love becomes simpler, because you're no longer trying to fit into someone's world. You're creating your own. And the one meant to be in it will recognize it without being persuaded, because true connection doesn't need convincing. It recognizes itself. The same rule applies to dreams. When you stop chasing them from a place of desperation, they start meeting you halfway, because your energy becomes stable, your intention becomes pure, and your work becomes grounded. And grounded work always bears fruit, not from panic, but from patience. Life starts responding differently when you stop running from emptiness and start filling it yourself, when you stop grasping for attention and start giving yourself validation, because that shift from chasing to attracting is not about arrogance. It's about balance. It's about knowing that your energy is valuable, your time is sacred, your love is rare, and none of that should be poured where it isn't respected. You realize that every time you chased, you taught the world that you were willing to settle, that you were willing to be chosen last as long as you were chosen. But when you stop chasing, you start teaching the world a new lesson, that your peace is not for sale, that your worth is not negotiable, that your presence is a privilege, not a convenience, and that lesson will echo louder than any words ever could. You start noticing that people who ignored you suddenly notice you. Opportunities you once begged for suddenly call back, not because they changed, but because your energy did. And that's the secret. Energy attracts mirrors. When you radiate neediness, you attract takers. When you radiate wholeness, you attract givers. When you radiate fear, you attract confusion. But when you radiate peace, you attract peace. It's not about playing hard to get. It's about being hard to disturb. It's not about withholding love. It's about giving love without losing self-respect. And that balance is where attraction lies, where effort meets ease, where desire meets destiny. You learn to stop explaining yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You stop proving your worth to those who only see convenience, because your silence now carries more power than your persuasion ever did. And that silence, that unbothered confidence, becomes the loudest statement of all. The funny thing is, when you stop chasing, you start seeing clearly who was meant to be there and who was only around for attention, because when the chase ends, the truth begins, and truth is freeing. It hurts at first, but it liberates you from illusions that drained your energy for too long. You start building differently, from a place of peace instead of panic, from gratitude instead of greed, from purpose instead of pressure. And that's when life opens new doors, because you're finally walking in faith, not fear. You realize that chasing is like holding sand too tightly. The harder you grasp, the faster it slips away. But when you open your hand, when you relax, when you trust, the sand settles naturally. And that's the lesson life keeps trying to teach, that force repels, flow attracts. Your power grows in the pause, your clarity blooms in the quiet, and the stillness you once feared becomes your strength, because it teaches you that nothing valuable needs to be chased. It just needs to be prepared for. And when preparation meets peace, attraction becomes inevitable. You start walking into rooms differently, not hoping to be noticed, but knowing you belong, not waiting for approval, but offering authenticity, not comparing yourself, but celebrating your own lane. And that energy makes people gravitate toward you without you even trying, because confidence is silent, insecurity is loud, and your silence is now your crown. You understand that chasing is the language of scarcity, but attraction is the language of abundance, and abundance begins in the mind. The moment you say, I already have everything I need within me, the world mirrors that belief, because the outer world always reflects the inner world. When you stop chasing money, you start attracting opportunities that align with your purpose. When you stop chasing validation, you start attracting respect. When you stop chasing love, you start attracting peace. And that's the real upgrade, not getting more, but needing less. You start living slower, deeper, fuller, because you've stopped running, and now you can finally breathe, finally feel, finally appreciate. And the calm you find there becomes the new standard, the new home, the new definition of success. There comes a day when you look back at everything you used to chase, every unanswered message, every ignored effort, every forced smile, and you finally smile for real, not because you got what you wanted, but because you outgrew the version of yourself that thought you needed it. That's growth. When peace matters more than presence, when calm feels richer than chaos, when solitude feels safer than fake company, when walking away doesn't mean losing, it means remembering your worth. You start understanding that peace is not something you find in people, it's something you build in yourself. You can't chase peace, because peace runs from noise. When you stop chasing and sit in stillness, peace recognizes you. It returns like an old friend, waiting to be acknowledged, waiting to remind you that everything you were chasing was never missing. It was inside you all along, buried under fear, under self-doubt, under the noise of trying too hard. You start to realize that you were never asking for too much. You were just asking the wrong ones. You were never too emotional, too intense, too much. You were just giving your depth to people who only lived on the surface. And when you stop chasing them, you meet people who swim at your level, who see your soul instead of your surface, who value your silence instead of fearing it, who love your stillness because they recognize it in themselves. The world begins to mirror your inner peace. Suddenly, conversations feel lighter, relationships feel more genuine, opportunities feel aligned, because you're no longer chasing outcomes. You're moving from intention. And intention attracts clarity, while desperation attracts confusion. You've changed your vibration, and vibration doesn't lie. It tells the truth of your soul before your words ever can. You begin to see the divine timing of things. You realize that what didn't work out wasn't rejection, it was redirection. Every door that closed was saving you from entering the wrong story. Every silence was protecting you from noise that would have destroyed your peace. You start thanking what you used to question, blessing what you used to curse, because now you understand that the waiting wasn't wasted. It was preparation. You notice that life gives you what you're ready for, not what you chase. And readiness comes from stillness, from growth, from patience. You stop asking when and start saying whenever. You stop saying, why me? and start saying, try me. That's when your power shifts, because now you're not trying to control outcomes. You're trusting the process. You've learned that chasing is the child of control, but attraction is the fruit of surrender. You learn to let people go without hate, to release what's heavy without regret, to outgrow places quietly, because peace doesn't need explanations. You stop announcing your moves, stop defending your growth, stop begging to be understood, because your peace doesn't require audience approval. The ones who truly see you won't need convincing, and the ones who don't never will. You start spending more time alone, not because you're lonely, but because solitude has become your sanctuary. You enjoy the sound of your own breathing, the rhythm of your own thoughts, the presence of your own company. You learn that loneliness isn't the absence of people, it's the absence of peace within. And now that you've found it, you guard it like treasure, because it is. In that solitude, you find clarity. You see how much energy you once wasted trying to prove, trying to chase, trying to explain. And you laugh a little, not in regret, but in gratitude, because without that chasing, you would have never discovered your worth. Without that noise, you would have never appreciated silence. Without those wrong ones, you would have never learned how to choose yourself. You realize that attraction is effortless, not because it's easy, but because it's aligned. What's meant for you doesn't need convincing. It just needs your readiness. The love meant for you won't confuse you. The career meant for you won't drain you. The friendships meant for you won't compete with you. And the peace meant for you will feel like home. You start living differently. You stop reacting to everything that moves. You stop explaining your peace to people who feed on chaos. You stop lowering your frequency just to feel included. You stop shrinking your shine to make others comfortable. You stop running after closure because you realize silence is closure too. You stop asking for honesty from people who lie to themselves. You stop expecting loyalty from those who betray their own values. You stop trying to fix people who broke themselves on purpose. You stop chasing clarity from people who benefit from your confusion. You stop begging for love from people who feed off your need. You stop waiting for an apology that will never come. You stop reliving the same story hoping for a different ending. You stop hoping someone will see your worth because you finally see it yourself. That's when you attract everything different. Peace starts finding you. Joy starts returning to you. People who match your energy begin to appear like blessings wrapped in calm. You attract opportunities that align with your growth, not your wounds. You attract conversations that feed your mind, not drain your soul. You attract experiences that build you, not break you. You realize the beauty of becoming your own safe space. When you stop chasing safety in others, you create it in yourself. You stop needing people to make you feel loved because love now lives in your habits. How you talk to yourself, how you rest, how you forgive, how you protect your energy. And that love, that self-generated peace, becomes a magnet for everything divine. Your energy becomes unshakable. People who used to trigger you no longer hold power. Situations that once broke you now test your strength and lose. Words that once hurt you now echo and fade. You've built something stronger, inner stability, emotional maturity, spiritual calm. And that calm makes you unstoppable. You stop running toward outcomes and you start walking in alignment. You wake up each morning not asking, what do I need to chase today? But instead saying, what do I need to become today? Because you've learned that attraction is not about running after things. It's about rising to the level where they meet you. You start to see that your only competition was your old self. The one who settled, the one who begged, the one who overgave, the one who kept proving, the one who confused attention with love. You smile at that version of you, not with shame, but with compassion, because that version had to exist for this one to rise. When you stop chasing, you start aligning with the energy of peace purpose, and patience. And that's when everything starts chasing you. The love, the opportunities, the clarity, the abundance, the moments that feel like miracles. Because you're no longer running in panic, you're walking in purpose. Even the universe recognizes it. Life starts sending you signs, little confirmations that you're on the right path, an unexpected message, a random blessing, a quiet morning that feels sacred. These are not coincidences. They're rewards for trusting instead of chasing. You become more intuitive. You start listening to your inner voice instead of the noise around you. You stop seeking answers from people who don't live your life. You stop needing validation from a world that doesn't understand your calling. You stop explaining divine timing to those who rush through everything. You move differently, slower, softer, wiser. And that's when attraction becomes your natural state. You don't chase attention, it finds you. You don't chase love, it stays. You don't chase peace, it follows you. Because now everything you want is drawn to your vibration, not your effort. The truth is, what you chase runs from you because your energy says, I don't have it. But when you stop chasing, your energy says, I already have enough. And the universe always gives more to those who are grateful, not desperate. Gratitude multiplies what chasing tries to steal. You start embodying that truth. You walk slower, talk softer, choose peace quicker. You become more intentional with your energy, more selective with your presence, more patient with your journey. You stop begging for alignment, you become it. You stop chasing frequency, you rise to it. The people meant for you will never require you to lose yourself to keep them. The dreams meant for you will never demand that you burn your peace to achieve them. The love meant for you will never ask you to chase it. It will meet you where you are. You'll see that all along. The power was never in the chase, it was in the pause, the trust, the surrender. Because when you stop chasing, you start letting life flow through you instead of forcing it. And in that flow, everything you once prayed for starts quietly finding its way home. That's the secret of attraction. It's not about doing more. It's about becoming more. It's not about chasing. It's about creating space. It's not about running faster. It's about trusting deeper. And when you finally do that, you'll see that you were never behind. You were being guided. You were being refined. You were being prepared. So stop chasing what's already yours by destiny. Stop begging for what's already written. Stop doubting what's already promised. Stand still, stand strong, and let your peace call in everything your chase once scared away. Because the moment you stop chasing is the moment everything starts arriving.